Hi, I'm Mark. Welcome back to Foothill Paint Fabrication. Well, we got a little bit of everything here today. We're going to do a quick walk around, show you some stuff I've done off camera. I finished this other fender weld that we just did on the last video. Boy, this one was way harder than the other side. I couldn't believe how much work it took, but I got it done. It wasn't easy, but we'll cover that in a minute. We are also going to investigate this, the bottom of this quarter panel that I've been trying to ignore since I got the car back from being dipped. It is heavily pitted right here, very heavily pitted, and there are some small holes right back in here. So we're going to see if we can just weld those in. Not sure if we can. If the holes just keep getting bigger and bigger, you know, like we're welding tinfoil, we're going to have to stop and make some sort of patch panel. But it feels pretty sturdy. It's just heavily pitted. And that came from the molding that sits right here. It kind of wraps around the bottom and screws down right here, and all the dirt just ran down and just settled down in there, and it stayed wet all the time. But we're going to check that out. We're also going to give a try to this new little sandblaster I bought, a little handheld job, because the pitted areas on Ruby, I can't condition the bottom of the pits. Now they are clean. When Bo stripped the car and put it in this phosphoric acid, I mean, they pressure washed all these pits out. They're super clean. But I can't condition at the bottom. I can wire wheel, I can DA, I can do everything I want, but I can't get to the bottom of those pits. So we're gonna try some baking soda. I got a big bag of it and this little blaster, and see if we can't condition these and get them nice and clean down in the bottom. And that way we know when we spray the epoxy on that it's gonna get down inside there to a nice clean surface. So let's go ahead and do a little walk around. I'm gonna cover some of the stuff I did off camera, and then we'll start investigating the bottom of this quarter panel. Okay, we got this side done. That side was easy compared to this side. So you can see it's all completely done. I've got the lip fixed up. Remember all my teenage hack job I did to it. I got that fixed. But the problem with this one was, you know, both of these fender wells are different. Now that other one goes in way deep here and it's totally different shape. Well, it turns out they were a different shape right here as well. So I got this done, and then I measured back and forth, and I was 3/4 of an inch tighter on this one than the other one. So I had to slice this. As you can see in the pictures here, I sliced that thing open pretty good. I had to go down and then also all the way across just to get this to move. And as you can see in the picture, it really distorted it. So I had to heat the bottom to get the curve back where I wanted it, so I wasn't forcing it. And then I started tacking it in place. But it took several cuts to get this to where I wanted it. So I cut it right here, all the way down to there. I cut it down here, as you saw in the picture. Then I had to cut a strip out all the way through here to eat up some room, then bend the tab, everything, and bring it in, tack it. And then when I was done, this hump was sticking out way higher than the other side, so I had to slice like a 3/16 groove out of that, pinch it together, and then weld that up and grind it smooth. And heating the bottom was necessary. I had to heat it cherry red and bend this over because when they stamped this shape, it really had a lot of stress on it. And when I cut it, as you saw in that picture, it was really, really boinked over there. And, I could force it over, but I didn't want to put stresses in here. I wanted everything to sit right where it belonged. But we got it done. It took a day and a half to get this done. Now, it was super hot in the shop. It was like 105, so I had to stop. I mean, TIG welding when it's 105, no fan on, I was dripping water, sweat everywhere. It was just miserable. So, but we got it done. Then I went ahead and cleaned up everything around it. So you see this nice clean line here, that wasn't factory. I scribed a line and I took the saw and I cut and sanded all of this so it's nice and clean and perfectly round and straight. So this side's done. I went ahead and did that side, took some time to fix some spot welds and some other stuff over there. So both of these are done now. So then I moved over and something else I had talked about, I need to redo the seat mounts. Remember, I just had a hole right here, so you can see this one's done. Both sides are done now. And you see in the picture, all I did was cut that tab off at kind of a couple angles and separated it, add some steel to it, and basically welded it back on right in the right spot. So both of them are done. So now all the seat mounts are done. So that part's done. Now I did do some work on that bottom of that quarter panel over there, and that side's pretty good. So this side is the side we're gonna have to take a look at. All right, let's get to work. It's about 8:30 and it's already 94 degrees in the shop. It's going to be 107 again today. It's been a scorcher around here lately. Very hard to get any work done. But we're going to have to keep on going. So as you guys can see, this is pretty heavily pitted. Now that's a screw hole. There's 3 of them. But you can see how that molding wrapped around. It's pitted right where that molding was. But I've been pushing on this, you know, trying to find if it's weak or, you know, any problem at all, and I can't find any weak spots. Now there are holes. Now we've got a hole right here, and I'm pretty sure I can weld that in. This one right here, I got a bad feeling about this one. It's going to get probably twice that size when I hit it with the Mig Welder. And then we've got a hole here. It looks like it's a drilled hole, but I'm pretty sure that's a pit. And then I don't know what that is. I think that's just a dent, but we're probably going to weld that in anyways. But structurally, it feels really solid. Now, I could have ordered a bottom piece here, and I could have just made a patch panel, but I really didn't want to do that, especially with the car hanging on the rotisserie right here. I would have probably put it back on the rack just to feel more comfortable about it. But I wanted to get the car on the rotisserie to see, you know, how bad this was. So I think we're okay. The other side is not near as bad as this, but it's very similar. So I think the first thing we want to do is go ahead and get a wire wheel and just wire wheel this area really good, and then see where we stand, and then maybe break out that little sandblaster. Now I did some little media blasting on the other side. That thing only holds about a quart of material, and I use baking soda, and I did you know, do it while it was in the shop, and it looked like I threw 50 pounds of that stuff into the shop. It was just everywhere. And it was only a quart. So we're going to go ahead and roll Ruby outside here just a little bit, at least her tail end, and then see if we can't get a little bit of media blasting done here. This thing isn't super efficient, but it seems like it does the job, so let's get after it. Okay, I got a wire wheel on my old polisher. I had this wire wheel on my grinder, and it just spun it way too fast. It was losing, both of them were losing wires like constantly, and this one's rated for 8,500 RPM, so they're high-speed wire wheels, but it just couldn't handle it. So I stuck it on my old polisher. It works pretty good on high speed. If you try to put it on lower speed, it just starts smoking, but I'm keeping it around till I finally set it on fire. So let's see what we can do about, you know, getting down in these pits the best we can, getting this area cleaned up real nice that we're not going to be able to get a DA down inside all these grooves. All right, I cleaned up pretty nice. I got down in a lot of these pits, but you can see these dark areas right here, and that's where we need that little sandblaster is going to come in handy. So we got a pretty good pit here. It doesn't go all the way through, but it wants to. So I think we're going to hit some of these deeper pits as well once we get this cleaned up. And I got around the little studs here for the molding clips, and they feel pretty solid. So that hole got bigger just wire wheeling. It could be a problem. I think we're going to use some copper on the backside when we start welding. So let's roll it outside and try out that little mini sandblaster. It actually rolls pretty easy. A little bit of a bump right there, but like that. But it rolls pretty easy. A little bit farther. I think that'll do right there. All right, let's make a mess. All right, I picked up this blaster. It's the Nanpu blaster. It was off Amazon. I think it cost me about $40, $45, $48, I'm not sure. It's pretty well constructed. There's some ones on there that are very inexpensive, but they had super bad reviews. Harbor Freight also sells one looks identical to this, about the same price. This is baking soda for media blasting. I picked up a 50-pound bag at Harbor Freight. It's about $1 a pound, so it's about 48 bucks, 50 bucks for the bag. It's made by Armaclean Company, so we're just going to go ahead and give this stuff a try. Like I said, I've already done some work on the other side with this, just minimal. I was making such a mess in the shop that I didn't want to keep going because, you know, I do paint inside the shop as well. So we got to make sure we don't get dust in every nook and cranny, although it probably already has dust in every nook and cranny from sanding and everything else we do. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and put my welding helmet on in grind mode just so to keep this stuff from peppering my face, and we'll just see what we can do. I really only need to concentrate on all these dark spots. The rest of this came up really nice with that wire wheel. I can't believe how nice it came out. So let me put the camera back a little bit and zoom in so it doesn't get peppered, and see if we can't get this cleaned up. That doesn't look like it's doing a very good job. Let's keep at it. Yeah, I think I need something a little more aggressive to get this stuff out of here. Maybe some sand. I got to check, see if I got any sand for sandblasting, and we'll see if we can knock this out. But give me a minute, I'll bring you right back. All right, I thought I had some super fine sand. I didn't want to use any coarse sand or anything. I thought I had some really super fine sand, but I don't. The reason I don't want to use it is because it gets in everywhere and it's hard to get out. This baking soda turns to powder once it hits the car, and it's soup. You just blow it off with the air hose. Any nook and cranny it gets into, you just tap and blow it out. It comes right out. Super easy to clean up. So I'm going to go ahead and switch over to a small, very small wire wheel, and we're going to just wire wheel all these, get down to all the nooks and crannies best we can, and then we'll just go ahead and hit it real quick with the soda. Combination of big wire wheel, small wire wheel, and the soda, baking soda. We got all those pits cleaned up really nice. So that little blaster is not so good. I mean, maybe with something a little more aggressive inside of it, it would work. Looks like it throws it out pretty fast. But this baking soda is pretty fine. Boy, you'd have to go through a lot of it just to do anything. But for what I'm doing right here, it's perfectly fine, and the cleanup is going to be super easy, and that's what I need to do right now. So I'm going to grab the air hose and blow this whole thing off. All right, let's start off with this easy one right here and see what happens. I don't have any copper back behind there, so hopefully we can get this welded in. Ooh, not good. Right off the bat, that was not good. Okay, let me grab the bird tool and knock that down and see how we did. You'll have a little tiny pit right there. All right, looks good. Let's move on down to the hard ones. All right, now we have this one here, this one here. This one looks pretty easy actually. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna just take a piece of copper, and I use a lot. Got strips of this stuff. And I'm just gonna bend it around here on the outside so it kind of matches that shape right there. And then I'm gonna go ahead up inside there with a magnet or a block of wood or something and see if I can force that up right at both of these points and get these welded in. Help me out a little bit because this one I know is gonna grow quite large, I think. So we'll do this one first and then that one. All right, I'll be right back as soon as I get this wedged up in there. All right, let's see what happens here. All right, had to chase it up the hill there a little bit, but let's look at the burr tool after it, see where we're at. All right, it's looking pretty good. We got a hole right there and a hole right there. So let's go ahead and hit those, sand it again, see what happens. Here we go. Okay, you saw what happened there. It just blew open. I think I ran out of copper over there. I had it more on this side, but we got it filled in. I'm going to hit it with a burr tool and we'll sand it and see if we solve the problem. All right, we saved it. Let's move over down to this big one right here and see what happens. All right, I got you zoomed in real tight so you can see how it's going to go. Wow, that went really well. I'm stunned. All right, I'm going to go ahead and try to get this one down here real quick while I'm at it. And we got a little one up here, and we could be done. All right, guys, that went exceedingly well. I'm thrilled how well that went. And it went so well, we've got time to do a few other things I wanted to do back here. So, the molding rolls around here and screws on right here, but this piece hangs down. And if you're standing far enough away, you can see it. Now, I don't want to chop it off, but I would like to lessen it a little bit because it spot welds way down here, but they have this big kind of thing hanging over the top here. So I think what I want to do is lay something in this groove right here or this break and then put a parallel line across here and then just take the cutoff wheel and cut that off nice and smooth and follow this contour all the way around. It's not going to cause any weakness because that's single strength sheet metal all the way down to here. So I can actually remove quite a bit of it and it's not really affecting the strength of this quarter panel. So let me find something to lay down in here so I can get a nice smooth parallel line. We'll get that marked, get the cutoff wheel out here and trim this up. All right, I was just running a dolly and a hammer across here to smooth out some of these puckers before we lay out a line. And I realized those are spot weld marks, but they're so high, I don't know if you guys can make it out, but they barely caught the tip of that. So we're going to re-spot weld this thing. When I put the other quarter panel on, I made sure I was way down inside here, but they missed on some of these. So this isn't even attached as well as it should be right here. And I found that in a few spots. Probably you've seen some on your cars as well, cars and trucks. So let's grab the spot welder and get this re-spot welded. Thing's heavy. I don't know why they have robots do it now. All right, if nothing else, we made it a little bit stronger. All right, I couldn't really find anything, but I tripped over the hose and I thought, well, you know what? That is going to fit down in that groove pretty good. So I got it up here. Just got a magnet holding it up. A couple of clamps on each side pulling it tight, and it's laying down up in that groove. So I think we're just going to kind of freehand a line here. Just kind of rest it on here. Nice and even. As long as both sides are the same, that's all that really matters. And that looks pretty good right there. Now this does break over right here. It doesn't really add any strength as far as I can tell. We re-spot welded it. It looked like several had missed completely. So it's basically stronger than it was its whole life. So I'm going to go ahead and finish this line out here. We're going to have it curve around here and get the cutoff wheel and get that trimmed off. I'll do the other side real quick and then we'll get it sanded nice and smooth. And that will be just about it for these two, the bottom of these two quarter panels. Okay, I kind of wrapped it around here just to get rid of it. I'm making sure I'm only cutting through this single strength right here, not where it's spot welded together. So I'll get across there. This line ends up pretty much where this notch was anyways. So we're just going to take that off right there and then come back down around here. All right, get the flapper disc and get that smoothed out real nice, get this curve sweetened up, and this side will be done. All right, got a nice little transition where the bumper sits right in here. So it comes around, just curve this up, straightened all this out, flattened it, sanded it so it's nice and smooth. I can run my fingers on it, no problem. Then I kind of tapered this down. I cut this corner off right here so it kind of matched this piece a little better. And then just kind of tapered it from here to there. And then, you know, straighten it all out. I think it looks a lot better. And we got all these holes filled, so we were able to save the bottom of this quarter panel. Both sides, pretty happy about that. Okay guys, this floor pan on the underside is just about ready to go. I don't see anything else that needs to be done. It really needs to be scuffed, wire wheeled, sanded, and prepped for epoxy. But while I'm in the cutting mood, I think I want to do to this lip what I just did to the one behind it. So that lip right there shows a little bit underneath the car, and I don't know if you guys can tell, but if you look down that line, I don't know if it'll focus, but this piece on the inside piece is nice and straight like an arrow. This outer piece that comes up to it, it kind of wanders up and down. It's not so smooth. So I think what I want to do, there's about a 3/16 or less right here. I want to set the cutoff wheel right there and just cut all the way down there, sand it, and get it all sweetened up. So let me put the car up on its side or an angle where it's easier for me to get in there, and we'll get that cut off too. All right, I just took some measurements because both sides are different. It's almost nothing over here in a few spots. And then down here, you guys can see it's about a 3/16 or 1/4 inch even in a few spots. It's interesting how much variance there is from one side of the car to the other. But we're going to trim them both to be the same because this inside panel is definitely correct. So I'm just going to set the camera down and get to cutting. That looks pretty good. Got that whole strip off there. So all we got to do is hit it with a little die grinder to smooth it off really nice. And that's done. I got to flip it over and do the other side. I think we can call it. We are done with this thing. Okay guys, we got the pinch welds on both sides trimmed off and nice and smooth and straight. It's looking really good. This one here, actually both sides came out really nice, super straight, and it's trimmed off just right. I don't think you're going to see it unless you see Ruby at a car show and you trip and fall and happen to look over. You're going to see a nice straight line on here. It's going to look really pretty. So we are basically done with the floor pan except for the tunnel. And I just recently received a comment. I forget who dropped it, apologies, but he said he was running a TKX and it fit no problem without modifying the tunnel. And a few other guys have told me the same thing. So I appreciate the advice and the info. So what I'm going to do, I don't know about the next video, but maybe the following video, we're going to go ahead, I'm going to cut the piece out of the donor car and we're going to get a patch panel in there. I've got a shifter hump on order. It should be here in a couple of weeks, maybe less, but we will not install that until we get the car on the chassis with the transmission. But we will replace all that damaged sheet metal before, just to get that done so we can spray some epoxy. But really everything else is done. I've gone over this thing several times, grinding welds, fixing this, bending that, straightening that. So I think it's done. And obviously I'm going way overboard. I've never done so much work to a rocker panel in my life because I'm always laying on a creeper, you know, doing the work. So I'm going to take advantage of this where I can stand up or sit on a stool and do the work. But I think it's looking really good on the underside. Okay guys, that pretty much wraps up this video on saving the bottom of the quarter panels and a little bit of everything else. We did a little media blasting, trimmed off some pinch welds, made everything look really nice, took care of a few other little small projects as well. So I'm really happy to be able to save the bottom of these quarter panels. I did not want to cut them off and put patch panels on them. I would have had to take the car off the rotisserie. I wouldn't have done it with it on the rotisserie, I'll tell you that much. But these are super solid. I pushed hard on both of them and tapped on really hard. We were able to clean all those pits out, weld in all those pits, grind everything smooth. It took a few tries, you know, kind of had to chase it there a little bit, but it was pretty thin. So we just kept welding back till we got some solid metal. And that's the key. It'll tell you when you've hit a good spot, right? So we ground them all smooth. It's going to take 2 or 3 coats of epoxy to get these fully flush, but that's not that big a deal. But I'm really happy to get this done. We can flip the car over and start scrutinizing the top for any little small things we need left to do before we can spray epoxy. Now we are coming up pretty close on a year since Ruby was dipped. And it's been super hot here. I mean, 3 weeks of more of, you know, 105, 106, 107, 109, 112. It's just been really hard to keep working, but I want to keep my foot on the gas, keep getting the videos out for you guys for one thing, but I need to get some epoxy on this thing. She's not going to stay perfect like this. I've been blessed with this area it's dry enough I don't have to worry about it too much, but I do need to get epoxy on this car and I need to move forward. So thanks for hanging in there with me, but we are getting very close. Thanks for joining me here at Foothill Paint Fabrication. Don't forget to like and subscribe button if you haven't already. Mash that bell and drop me a comment. I'd love to hear from you. We'll see you on the next one.